A pleasant day to each and everyone, especially to our beloved teacher, Miss Aragon, and to my fellow student. A pleasant day to all of you. So in this discussion I'm going to discuss about the political self. So without further ado, let's now start the discussion. So first, let me give you an overview of what we will be discussing for today. So, in this lesson, we would able to define politics. We would also be able to identify the political self, its theories, and its origins. We'll also be touching topics about Filipino traits and values, common Filipino markers that most of us grow up like, proverbs, superstitious beliefs, myths and legends, as well as Filipino heroes and icons. And lastly, we'll also visit the topic for us to know how to be a good Filipino. So this is the flow of the discussion. To begin with our topic, let me read you a statement from Aristotle, who in politics called men zoon politikon, or also known as political animal. So according to him, hence it is evident that the state is a creation of nature, and that man is by nature a political animal, and he who by nature and not by mere accident is without a state is either above humanity or below it. He is the tribeless, lawless, heartless one, whom Homer denounces, the outcast who is a lover of war. He may be compared to a bird which flies alone. Aristotle named men political animal because we are not mere animals in the sense that we're able to make our own decisions. Our actions are based on sound judgments. Before we do something, it should be based on something we believe, because it's always dangerous to do things without thinking them over. Okay guys, let us now proceed to our next topic, which is politics. So what do you mean by the politics? So politics is the art of science and governance. It is an art in the sense that there is beauty in governance. For you to govern, it should be a product of something that awakens the feeling of the delight. And when you govern, the people should be happy and benefited. Moreover, it is a science because there is a method or system that we need to follow to govern the people to their happiness and benefit. So politics is a process by which a group of people make decisions. Again, according to Aristotle, we are political animals. We're all politicians. So let's just not think over the negative sides of politics, like corruptions, graft, and etc. Because there are politics everywhere we go. For example, you are planning to buy a new property. A friend suggested a property, but you found out a better one. So normally, as a political animal, as someone that have a sound thinking, you will definitely choose the property that has the better options. Now, what is political self and identity? The political self helps in defining the structure and functions of the government, in telling and understanding the relationship between the state and its citizens, and in describing their rights, freedom, and obligations as citizens of the state. Whether you like it or not, we're already involved in the political public sphere. And because of this, we have to be able to understand our relationship with the state, with the government. Because it is the state, it is the government, describes our rights, that gives us our freedom, and tells us our obligations as citizens. They have created laws where it enumerates our rights, what our freedom means, and what other things we need to do. Political self and our identity is tied up with our citizenship. So citizenship becomes a salient or important basis for political self. You become a citizen because at first, maybe you've not chosen to become a Filipino citizen. You are a Filipino citizen by default because you are born in the Philippines of Filipino parents. But that can change. These are stated actually on our constitution that those who are citizens of the Philippines at the time of adoption of this constitution, those whose fathers or mothers are citizens of the Philippines, and those born before January 17, 1973, of Filipino mothers who elect Filipino citizenship upon reaching the age of majority, and those who are naturalized in accordance of law. But once you elect another citizenship, you are free to do that. Why? It's because if you believe that you cannot align your values, your belief, your principles with what enshrines in the Philippines Constitution, then you may elect another citizenship. You can be an American citizen or a citizen of any country abroad. What I am saying here is that your citizenship is very important in defining your political self, since you will have to align your principles that what's written in the Constitution. So what is the difference between citizenship and nationality? So when we say citizenship, this is what you have elected. This is what you have chosen to be. On the other hand, nationality, this is where you have been born. Could be you are a Filipino nationality, but your citizenship is an American, since that is what you have chosen. You're free to choose it. Well, with nationality, that's it. Your color, culture, language, and your roots, that's referring to your nationality. So it's possible when you ask, what's your nationality? You will go back to your roots. When you're asked, what's your citizenship? That's where your political alliance is. Okay? Now, these are the theories of political self. First is the social learning theory. A person can acquire learning through observation and imitation. This is called the political socialization. It's the process of observation and imitation. Observation and imitation is important in a process known political socialization. Political socialization is the lifelong process by which individuals gain knowledge about politics. Next is a cognitive theory, where it suggests that mental activities like knowledge, perceptions, ideas of individuals are important determinants of behavior like political attitude. Example, individuals interpret meaning of politics and then choose and decide the actions they will make. Then, the theory of symbolic interaction. It suggests that behaviors are products of communication, meaning, and symbols. People give meaning to symbols and they express these meanings through language communication. Example, children develop their political attitudes according to the symbols and meanings that their parents communicate to them. Lastly, the theory of political participation, where it is defined as the citizens' actions or activities anchored in politics. The extent and scope of political participation may be an important criterion for assessing value or quality symbols and meanings that a people ascribe to politics. Like just for example, an ordinary Filipino citizen must be allowed to take part in the policy and decision-making process regarding administrations of the Philippines or the country, which is in accordance to the democratic nature of the Philippine society. To proceed, next, let's discuss the origin of the political self. The origin of the political self has many factors that starts with the family. The family has a hierarchical structure through hierarchy of positions, status, and power. Example, father acts as a leader and establishes rules to maintain order in the family. This shows that authority is necessary in the development of political self and identity. Next is the school. The school's responsibility is to teach moral, spiritual, and political values that will help the students to become patriotic and morally upright citizens. Example, GMRC or Good Manners and Right Conduct Subject or Values Education nowadays. ROTC. The school is similar to family, where the teacher acts as the leader in classroom that sets the rule and regulations to maintain order in class. Another factor of the origin of a political self is a church. It helps shape the ideals of citizenship and democracy through the religious teachings, values, and traditions. Peer interactions with the peers encompasses and emphasizes the equal distributions of power, rights, and privileges among members of a group. Mass media cater to the source of information on politics. In total, family, school, and church, peers, and moral behaviors that influence political behavior and political self. And lastly is the democracy, a government in which the supreme is vested in and exercised by the people directly or indirectly through a system or of presentation, usually involving periodical held free elections. Although democracy has several flaws, it also uniquely possesses a number of features that most people, whatever their basic political beliefs, would consider desirable. Example: first, democracy helps prevent cruel and vicious autocrats from ruling. Second, it fosters human development like health education, personal income, and any other indicators more fully than do other forms of government. Third, democracy helps protect fundamental individual rights and interests. Also, democratic societies provide people the maximum opportunity to take moral responsibility for their choices and decisions. Fifth, democratic societies offer a relatively high chance of political equality, three major concerns in building an identity. So, as a Filipino, we have our customs and traits that was with us from the start. It goes back when we are still being colonized by other culture. Actually, we were colonized because of some traits and values that we have. So, what are those Filipino traits and values that we have? Here are some or examples from the reference in which Miss Aragon gives to us. First, the Filipino hospitality. The Filipino hospitality is something to take pride in. Tourists usually comment on it during their trips as something they remember or people buy, more than the food they ate or the places that they visit. For example, even if you don't have much, you can still have or find a way to have food on the table during a feast. It is natural for us Filipinos to celebrate and invite one another to join us. Since very hospitable man ta, we embrace the Spanish colonizers without knowing that their purpose of coming is to colonize us. Another trait is respect for elders. Filipinos greet elders by kissing their hands while saying "mano po." This is often observed not just by younger people but also by people of all ages. Also, we have this habit of saying po and opo. Next is strong family ties and religions. Yes, Filipino values their families so much that they tend to keep families intact through the generations. We Filipinos normally gather in special occasions like birthdays, holidays, and especially during Christmas and New Year or even fiestas. Next, generosity and helpfulness. Filipinos are generous people. Even we have very little, we always share with those around us. Another trait is strong work ethic. Yes, we are hardworking people to the point that we're willing to work almost the whole day just to feed our families. That's how Filipino are. Also, Filipinos are loving and caring. Filipinos are the sweetest and the most loving people in the world. If we Filipinos have a good traits and values, there are also negative traits, sad to say, like fatalism, where we have this attitude of what goes around comes around, or come what may. Also, crab mentality, where we tend to push each other down to clear the way for their own gain. Instead of being happy for others' success, just like the crabs, they pull each other to cause discomfort for others. Studies in human behavior shows that one's crab mentality comes from a personal insecurity or low self-esteem, which is usually unknown to the individuals. It may be that the feeling of disdain, jealousy, and antagonism is justified. A fine example on this is spreading malicious rumors in their workplace about a coworker or a classmate from a class who is up for a promotion or an award, even though they don't benefit from spreading these rumors just to drag someone down with them. Other examples that we come up are having a cheerful personality. Filipinos have a habit of smiling and laughing a lot. Smiling has been a coping strategy for many Filipinos. If there's one trait that the Filipinos are known for, aside from being hospitable, is our ability to be happy and stay positive no matter the circumstances is. For instance, maintaining positive outlook after calamities, either be strong typhoons, floods, and etc. Next is the self-sacrifice. Self-sacrificing attitude of Filipinos can be seen as an extension of the Filipino hospitality. This is a remarkable quality of a Filipino is his capacity to endure difficulties and hardships. May be related to the long suffering they endured during the many colonization in the Philippine history. They are patient enough to wait for their turn to be blessed with greener pastures as long as they do what is right and good. Example, OFW or the modern Filipino heroes, where some of our family's members sacrifice to go abroad just to give better life for those they leave at home. Another is the bayanihan, where people help each other, giving the spirit of communal unity and cooperation of Filipinos and helping others without expecting rewards to achieve a certain goals. In early days, when houses were made of lighter materials such as coconut leaves, bayanihan also meant helping one's neighbors move their house, literally. An example of this is like Brigada Escuela, where parents and their children go to school before it start to fix everything that needs to be fixed and clean for a good start of the school year and clean up drives. Next is the Mahalana Attitude, Filipino version of Hakuna Matata, also synonymous to the phrase "Que sera sera," which means whatever will be, will be. The phrase "bahala na" originated from the "bathala na," meaning leaving everything into God's hands. It leaves everything to chance, or just let the circumstances take care of themselves, embracing love over good reason. One good example is wondering that it's okay to pass like this, may the luckiest win. Another trait is the colonial mentality, regarding as a lack of patriotism and attitude where Filipinos favor foreign product more than their own, attributed to the centuries of colonizations of Filipino had experienced. Filipinos having preferred foreign-made products instead of patronizing Philippine-made ones. This results to higher gains for foreign businessmen than local businessmen. Thus, it motivates Filipino businessmen to improve the quality of their products to make it more competitive against foreign ones. Example, patronizing Hollywood films than the local films, or food products or Korean language than Filipino language, and following current trends outfit. Next is the manana habit, Filipino term for procrastination, derived from the phrase called mamaya na. The mamaya na habit or bukas na lang habit is a poor habit, a sign of laziness, of leaving for a later time, that what can be done at the moment or today. Example, delaying of doing school works. Another one is ningas kogon. Ningas means flame, and kogon means kogon grass, refers to the attitude of eagerly starting things but quickly losing eagerness as soon after experiencing difficulty. A good example is since we are in holiday season, a New Year resolution. Next is pride. Most Filipino hold their pride as if they are precious than keeping a good relationship with family and loved ones. When two parties are not in good terms, they find it too hard to apologize and wait for the other party to apologize first. One good example is that when you caught them doing something wrong and they're the ones mad about it, sometimes putting the blame on you. Next is Filipino time. Filipino time means that state of being late for a minute up to hours compared to the standard time. Filipinos' attitude of arriving late at commitments during parties or dinners, especially if they are meeting with someone close to them. To proceed, we have next are the Filipino markers. What makes us a Filipino? Or in other words, what are the things or practice you engage in that other may clearly identify as such? The following are constant reminders of our nationality. First is the proverbs or salawikain. Filipino proverbs, just like any other proverbs, are saying that conveys lessons and reflections on Filipino practices, beliefs, and traditions. Damiana Eugenio, regarded as the mother of Filipino folklore, classified proverbs into six categories. First, proverbs expressing general attitude towards life and laws that govern life. Next, ethic proverbs recommending certain values and condemning certain vices. Next, proverbs expressing a system of values. Next, proverb expressing general truths and observation about life and human nature. Also, humorous proverbs and miscellaneous proverbs. Example of a Filipino proverb is hanggat makitid ang kumot, matutong mamaloktot, which means being adaptive and be satisfied with what you have. Second Filipino marker are superstitious beliefs. We Filipino also subscribe to our own sets of superstitious passed down from generation to generation. Some of this may be influenced by beliefs from other culture, but Filipinos have retold these superstitions according to our own experience and sometimes end up more interesting. According to Filipino superstition, you need to turn your plate when someone leaves in the middle of the meal. Next, we have myth and legends, commonly known as alamat. Due to the Philippines' rich culture and history, numerous myths and legends sprang about things that are beyond one's imagination. These stories are aimed to explain the origin of things, at the same time teach a valuable lesson. Some of these stories stem during the pre-Christianity period, but have evolved to the stories that we have known today. One example is the legend of how the Mount Mayon was formed. Next is heroes and icons. Heroes serves as reminders of true patriotism and nationalism as they have sacrificed their lives for the sake of our country's freedom and progress. Either they gave prestige to the country, died, and made significant steps to make our countries great. We also have our modern day heroes or icons, and since we are no longer at war, our modern heroes gave prestige and name to the country. They also give contributions. Famous Filipino icons such as Manny Pacquiao or Pacman, known as our pambansang kamao, for his contributions in boxing arena. Next is Leah Salonga, was bestowed with the honor of becoming the Disney legend for gaining many awards in the Broadway industry. And don't forget our OFWs, as they play a vital role of our economy structure and with their sacrifice for their families and etc. Also to our heroes who shed bloods and honors for keeping our independence and freedom of our country. Some of them was got Jose P. Rizal, whom is known for his contributions Nuli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo, and was executed by Spaniards by firing squad. Other heroes we had was Ca Andres Bonifacio, often called the father of Philippine Revolution, and was assassinated. Also we had Apolinario Mabini, known as the Sublime Paralytic or the Kilang Lumpo, the first Prime Minister of the First Philippine or Republic of the Philippine Revolution, and one of the heroes that had an iron hand in keeping order on our revolutionary army that was time. General Antonio Luna was nicknamed General Artikulo Uno for his adamant stand for the first article of the Rules and Regulation of the Philippine Revolutionary Army, stating all who refuse to follow his order shall be executed without the benefit of a trial in a military court, and was assassinated by the Cavite faction of the Philippine Revolutionary Army. And there is many more. Now, how to be a good Filipino? Now that you know that your traits and your values are very important or an important indicator of being a Filipino, the problem now is how to truly become one and how you can be useful to the development and progress of our country. So we have here the following ways on how to be a Filipino or a good Filipino. First is be active Filipino citizen. A good Filipino citizen is knowledgeable of current events and engages in government programs aimed at advancing and developing the country. You become an active citizen only by using your rights to vote. When it comes to voting, the rich and poor have equal voting rights, and every Filipino citizen of legal voting age has an opportunity to elect leaders who are sincere to the desire to aid and care for the Filipino citizen or Filipino people. Next is study Philippine history. The road of Filipino is so long and bloody. We've learned and seen the beginning and the development of our country through Philippine history. It serves in strengthening our sense of nationalism because some of the stories of the Philippine heroes inspires us to who are we as a Filipino. Next is to support local products. For obvious reasons, the first benefit to consider is that supporting local means you care about the community which you live. You'll be able to reinvest your own town and the people that live there as well. It is based on creativity, being innovative, and resourcefulness. Next is by speak Filipino language. The history of our language was as long as hard as the Filipino history. Jose Rizal highlighted the importance of speaking a national language as a way of displaying the love of one's country. Next is to do not spread fake news and be democratic in engaging with dissent. This century in Philippine history has seen the internet create a world of possibilities for people, both good and evil. For example, Filipinos working overseas can contact with their loved ones in the Philippines more easily via the internet. Despite this, the internet has made it incredibly easy for bogus news to proliferate. Similarly to the internet has forced us to engage in heated debates with individuals all over the world about our political beliefs. For example, understanding and verifying what you have seen online, especially on social media, before believing it and spreading it like wildfire is part of being a good Filipino. Every Filipino also has a responsibility to acknowledge political differences, to be tolerant, and to dispute rationality without resorting to name calling. So, the summary of the topic. With this discussion, we have known our political self and was able to understand and go deeper our Filipino traits and values. We Filipinos have also our hallmarks of being a Filipino. We will also be able to understand properly how to be a good Filipino by hearts and by actions. So in our report, we agree to the Filipino traits and value since this has been a part for us for so long, and without this, we cannot be cool as a Filipino since we do believe that each nation and country has their own culture and practices. Moreover, as a Filipino and as a citizens of this nation, I am agree that the political self topic is a must for us to study because through this we are reminded of who we are. where we are originated, and especially we know what are rights. Because some people forget the rights of others, in which these lessons makes an eye-opener for us to be an active in our society, especially when making decisions for making leaders to guide us in the right path and brighter future. That's all about for this topic. Thank you so much for listening, and I would like to express my gratitude to my teammates whom without them we couldn't have possible completed this task. Good day and thank you.